I'm Kim, and I'm here with Juji, Shira, and Lee. Unfortunately, Taras couldn't be with us today. We are 5 friends, speakers, and professionals from different cultures, backgrounds, and age groups coming together to offer healing and inspiration. Do you ever want what someone else has, whether it be a thing, a character trait, a relationship, or a talent? Is there someone whose life you wish you could trade places with? Envy is more pervasive than ever before because of other people's lives being in our faces 24/7 through social media, the mainstream media, texting, etc. Well, today we're going to explore how being envious erodes at our confidence and robs us of our joy. I have to admit, girls, that I've had issues with envy myself, and in some cases, even with you guys. You know, envy is, I find, a very natural feeling that comes up in everybody. I don't think there's anybody in the world who doesn't feel envy from time to time. But when I was giving it a lot of thought, prep for this episode, I was thinking there's 2 different aspects of envy that, I think one is a little more healthier than the other. One is when you're envious of somebody for whatever reason. Maybe you want something they have, maybe, they have a better job, they make more money, they have a nice car, they have the perfect spouse, whatever it seems like to you on the outside. And there's this like little devil sitting on your shoulder who's whispering in your ear often. And it just kind of eats away at your soul. And you end up really just suffering through life and feeling very negative. And that's just not a good place. That's not a good way to live your life at all, physically, mentally, emotionally. And then you have this other aspect, which is what I feel, now later in my life is what I'll feel from time to time, is that it pops in and out. It can irritate me. It could distract me from focusing on something good in my life that I have. Just kind of take me away from this good feeling place. So there's like 2 different, I guess, head spaces. Whether it's with you guys or with other people in my life, of course I experience it and feel it from time to time. But I think the biggest thing that I've realized is that, and we did a whole episode on this, when I ask myself questions to try to understand why I'm feeling that way. Is it that I really want what that other person has? Because most of the time I don't actually want what they have or what they're like. Let's say a business. Like Juji, when you started your business, I was so happy for you. I'm still so happy for you. And coming from a place of having had my business, I think when I felt envy, or the moments that I might feel envious of you, is more so a feeling of excitement and newness and fulfillment, because I know what that feels like, and I want it. I want that all the time. So when I watch you feel that way, I feel envious. And Shira, I was thinking of you last night. You live in the city. I lived in the city for a long time. Sometimes I miss it, but I don't want to live there again. But sometimes I'm envious of you because you'll be walking down the street. It's so exciting. It's so new. It's like you're this amazing big world outside. You know what I mean? So it's more for me, and Lee, it happens with you too. Like, it's just more of a feeling for me. It's not like, oh, I want your car. It's just.
Yeah. I want to make a distinction. If
you don't want my car. Just saying.
It's so roomy.
I love my car. I'm good on the car.
No, I want to make a distinction because this is where I thought you were going with this, Kim. So to me, the 2 avenues are, you're envious of somebody almost to the point of like, you're angry with them. Like, I want what you have, like where it's making you irritated inside because you don't have it. So you're focusing on the lack, right? They have what I want. I don't have it. I suck. Whatever you say to yourself about what they have and you don't. And then there's the other track, which is you look at somebody who has a successful career, a loving spouse, whatever it is, and you say, that's possible. I want that. And I'm going to do what it takes to get there. That's a whole different level of being envious, because it's more of an impetus for you to do the work that it takes to get there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think that there's a whole nother level to those 2 things that you just said. There is sometimes a level where you want something that somebody else has, although you resent them for having it.
Right.
And you want, you don't wish them well. Like
Right.
maybe, it's more of like, you don't want that person to succeed. You don't want them to have things because it makes you feel worse, or you just don't, maybe you hate kind of hating on them and you don't want them to succeed for whatever reason.
Maybe they don't deserve it, or you feel like they don't deserve it, or you deserve it better, or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like what you just said is interesting, Kim, because it was when I had my first business that I really experienced envy, and it was in the form of seeing similar businesses and women succeeding where I wasn't. And so I didn't really resent them like as people. I like resented the world for why it would let them succeed and why I wasn't succeeding. But the reason why I feel less envious of my friends, I guess, is because you guys are real people. Like, you're not a theory, you're not a person on a screen. Like, I know that with every success and milestone and everything, there is still life behind that. There is still the regular run-of-the-mill everyday struggle that you can't see through a screen. And that's why there's so much discussion about how social media is just a highlight reel of people's lives, and it's not for us to try and compare ourselves, because it's not like they're filming themselves crying at 2:00 in the morning, like
On the bathroom floor.
on the bathroom floor, or hugging a pint of Haagen-Dazs. I've never done either of those things, but I don't know.
Oh, we've all cried on the bathroom floor. Come on.
True. I cried on the bathroom floor of my business, so there you go. And the thing was that when I did end up walking away from that business, people were shocked, because on social media it looked like everything was perfect and fine and dandy, and that was like a real true lesson for me in all of that. Like, the layers of envy sort of like melted away, because I'm like, I have no clue what these women are going through. It doesn't matter how many followers they have. That has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in here. And the only thing I care about now is what happens in here. And when that's the case, then you can start to truly be happy for other people. You get little sparks of, like, exactly, Kim, like, you love experiences. So you love the idea of other people's lives from the standpoint of, that's an experience I'd like to have, or an experience I'd like to have again.
But it's so nice to be aware of that. And when I was talking about asking myself questions, they go such a long way, because when you ask yourself the question, okay, well, what is it that I really want? Do I want that thing? Do I want that business? And I'm able to say, like, Juji, you have a human design business. I know I don't want a human design business. So I knew that's not what it was. I don't want to live in the city, so I know that's not what it is. And they're very almost fleeting, which I almost welcome, because it almost helps me appreciate all the things I do have, but also it helps me, like, just in turn be so much more happier for you guys. You know what I mean?
I just had an aha moment. It's not really an aha moment. It's more of like channeling Esther Hicks and Abraham and all of that kind of thing. It's not that we want what the other person has. We want to feel that feeling of,
Yes.
I reached this goal, or I have a loving relationship, or I'm proud of myself, or I was courageous in this, or whatever it is, or I feel beautiful, whatever it is. It's in the feeling of it that we have to revel. Like, that's where we have to live, in the feeling of it. And I have to say that for me, in the last year of transformation of my life, I have so focused on the feeling of what it would be like to have the thing that I want, whether it's, a romantic love or this show. Like, seriously, this show is such a good example of visualizing, like, oh my God, it'd be so amazing if, and like, we're doing it. We don't know what's going to happen with it, but we're enjoying the process. And that's the key right there. It's like getting yourself to a better feeling thought, right? Because it all starts with our thoughts. And having that emotion and the visualizing, just all of that stuff goes hand in hand. So hence, when you focus on yourself, you don't have time to focus on other people and what they have or what they don't have, because you can't be jealous of one thing about a person's life. You have to be jealous of all of it, their entire life, which you could never ever know about. You can't be jealous of one aspect of it. Do you know what I mean? Because someone could be like, oh, I'm a famous movie star, but I'm being stalked by some crazy people. It's like, right? Or you could have like a successful, young actress, whatever, and her mother's like a stage mom from hell. So like, you just don't know. You don't know.
And people, all they're seeing is, like you said, that highlight reel on social media or wherever. So they're thinking that person is feeling nothing but happy and abundant and all of these amazing things, when life is yin yang. We're all human. We all have good and bad experiences. We all have, good and bad days, all of that. And it's just so good to remind yourself that, like, what you're seeing is just a tiny piece, a tiny sliver of the pie. There's so much going behind there that you don't know. Mm-hmm. But I love visualization as a tool. That's great.
And I think a lot of the root of all of this really comes down to our desires, just stuff we want. And sometimes it has not so much anything to do with other people and what they have, but we look at things, material things, people's lives, their success. And I think for most of us, it's just a desire to either have that thing or the success or the joy or the marriage or whatever it is. And, when you think more and more about it, it comes down to contentment and joy. Why do I want this? Because I think it's going to make me happy. Why do I want what she has or what he has? Because we want to get to that place of a good feeling, which I think trumps everything else.
Please don't.
Yeah, it reminds me of an Abraham Hicks, something that she always says, which is, we only want something because we think we're going to feel better in the having of it. Yeah. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
It's funny that the two examples that you used, Shira, is fame. Because I think that we've all seen enough like made for TV movies about how fame isn't all that it's cracked up to be. And there are so many things out there in life. Like, we revere fame, but it sounds like a nightmare to me. I never want to be famous. And we all revere wealth, which also there's been tons of studies that there's like a cap on where more money equals more happiness. Right. And so a lot of the times when it comes to people with extraordinary wealth, it seems like we are surprised that whenever they express discontent with something. But it's interesting that we think that if we don't allow them to express that discontent, it somehow goes away, when clearly there's like certain things that we just don't allow people to express because we feel that they have something that we don't. I remember a friend of mine told me once that one of the hardest things for her about being in high school was that she was so beautiful in high school that none of the girls that she was friends with, first of all, she barely had any friends, and second, she felt like she was never allowed to be sad or frustrated or angry. Nobody would let her be those things because she was beautiful. They were like, well, but you're beautiful, so you don't get to have those other emotions. And it's like, we're all human. Wealth doesn't solve anything. Beauty doesn't solve anything. It's like, it's all in here.
I just want to challenge one thing you said, and I was trying to think it through, but like when you say, I don't ever want to be famous, or, wealthy people aren't allowed to whatever. I think that because we as a society put those things in buckets, like if you're wealthy, you must be happy, or if you're famous, you must be happy. When
do we do that? Do we really do that?
I mean, a lot
I mean,
of
we know better these days, right?
young people do. Oh my God, they're like YouTube famous. They must have
Yeah.
the best life ever. But what I did want to counter to that was when I think about the things that I want to do with my life, I don't necessarily think about fame, but I do think about impact, right? And I think the more people you can invest. So if you happen to become famous, whatever that is, in the process, but your goal and your intention is to change the world for the better or change minds or feed the hungry or, like if I amass a lot of wealth, I want to do good things with it. And so there's always two ways to look at everything, right? So when I think about fame, I think about impact or influence.
Sure.
There's something that I wanted to share, and I just totally lost my thought.
Hey.
It went away.
Just to respond to Shira very quickly, I think you're right. There is a difference between fame and influence, and you also have to think of it this way: as like famous actors, they love to act. So what they wanted from their lives was to have the opportunity to do that, not to be famous, not to be on the cover of magazines all the time, not to go to award shows and wear fancy outfits. They just want to work. Acting is hard work, and that's what they want to do. And the fame that comes along with that, and the pressure and the microscope under which you are now under because of these things, is what people really don't understand. The flip side of that is, so anytime we talk about how much an actor gets paid and talk about their nasty divorce and things like that, it's like they really just wanted to act. They just wanted to do a job.
Yes.
I do think that some people that get into acting want to be famous, though. I think they want all of the, paparazzi, the glitz, the glam, the being publicly out there. I think some of them are into that, and maybe that's how, maybe when they're younger they start out, maybe once they get there, it's a little bit of a different story. And I think we can apply that to almost anyone who has any financial success, right? It does not mean that when we get there, whether we're a public figure or not, that we will be happy. And that goes in life for everybody. It doesn't mean when we have the car, we're going to be happy. When we have the house, when we have the ranch, when we have our own jet plane, because you also find people, and this would be a good episode, people who don't have much at all, who are so happy and joyful in their life.
Well, I just wanted to do a very quick plug and then so sorry, Kim. There's something called the Yale Happiness Course. I think I may have mentioned it to you guys. It's really interesting. It's free, it's online, and it's literally like a multi-week course about happiness, and kind of what Juji was saying, or all of us are saying, that when I have this, I will be happy. And when we get there and we actually get the thing, we're like, well, not so much, not so happy. So what's the psychology behind that? And I just wanted to do a little plug for that course, because it's
well, and it's also not that you're not happy when you get that thing or when you get to that place. It's just that happy feeling can be very fleeting.
Right.
And then you're on to the next thing you want, because all we do is expand, right? It never ends. I remember what I was going to say before.
Yay.
I also think, something that is really good to do, and I know this is difficult. It was even a little slightly uncomfortable for me to share earlier and be vulnerable in that way to share, when I was talking about you girls and what I envy sometimes. But actually just kind of owning it and being honest about it, because I've found that when I'm open and honest with certain people in my life who, let's say they're at a place I want to be, let's say they have a lot of abundance and I want to feel that secure and stable and abundant, or I don't know, can't think of an example off the top of my head, but let's say, I want to travel. That's what, traveling is like my baby. And so it's nice that if I have someone in my life who travels a lot, it's nice to be able to go to them and say, hey, I love, I'm envious that you get to travel so much. And you can talk to them about it, and they can actually help you and tell you in ways that they get to do this and how, and, help you come up with a plan or give you tips, so there is something in being vulnerable too.
Well, Kim, that's all part of visualization. And I love that you said that, because earlier when I was talking, I said something about there's two tracks, right? There's the, oh, you have what I want and I don't like you for it. And you feel crappy inside. And then there's the, oh my God, they have this like really cool career. Like, how did they do that? Like being curious, right?
Mhm.
So I love that you said that, because when you have that in your heart, you will find the ways to get some answers. And so visualizing, talking to people who have what you want, whether it's a career or whatever, like, what did you do to get there? Or what are some things that I should investigate? Like, it's a whole other mindset. And I love that you said that, because it does require action, not just
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, and openness and vulnerability and just belief, right? Like we always talk about. Ladies, I think this is a great place to wrap it up. If you love our conversations, please click like and subscribe to our channel and tell a friend, spread the word. And please let us know if you have any comments or questions, or if you have a topic that you'd like to request. We would love that. We'll see you soon, everyone. Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Bye.